What's up, guys? Thanks for coming to Gaming Canada with me. Over the last week or so, the Switch homebrew scene has been very active with multiple new emulator cores running on RetroArch, as well as a possible release date for Michael Cyrus' much anticipated custom firmware known as Atmosphere. There's some other equally interesting stuff to mention, but let's just get right into it. Right off the bat, we're over here on the Atmosphere repository, and as you can see, these are the release plans posted by Cyrus just about 13 hours ago, and these are the upcoming plans for what Atmosphere is going to have in its first official release. Now, that first official release is going to be a version 0.7, and it's going to be released sometime in August 2018, so that is this month. Right now, we could be seeing Atmosphere anytime. If we scroll down a bit, you can see it will support the following feature set: Fuse bootloader, Exosphere, a fully featured custom secure monitor, Stratosphere, a set of custom system modules. Now guys, I could go ahead and read all of this, but honestly, I don't know what any of this stuff is or what it means that we'll be able to do with this firmware. So if anyone wants to just give a rundown in the comments of what all of this stuff is going to allow us to do, then please do that and I'll pin your comment. If we scroll down even further, you can see these are the planned things that are hopefully going to be in version 0.9 and finally 1.0. It looks like one of these planned features is an EmuNAND, which people were interested in the start of Homebrew, but it kind of has died out at this point. Also, an application level plugin system. This will work somewhat like NTR Custom Firmware's plugin system on the 3DS, allowing users to run their own code in a game's process in their own thread. Also, an AR code / GameShark analog implementation allowing for easy sharing development of cheat codes to run on the devices. And guys, if you ever doubted that Michael Cyrus has a sense of humor, look at this. General system stability improvements to enhance the user's experience. Get out of here. I quit. I'm done, guys. I'm done, YouTube. Up next, we're over here on GBA Temp, and there's a thread about fake SXOS payloads. Now, it turns out that there are hackers trying to hack Team Executor's software so that people could use it for free to load backups. As it currently stands, there is no cracked version of the SXOS software, but you can check out the source code for this fake payload over here. I'm not sure if this link is still working at this exact moment in time. But basically, it turns out if you sent this payload to your Switch, you get stuck on the Nintendo screen forever and ever. All this person remembers is an Easter bunny, and then they realize they lost all their backups. So there is a post right here that was quoted, and it says, "So not many people are aware of what this payload actually does. It does not replace your entire NAND with garbage. That'd be a huge waste of time. It just overwrites your GPT and part of your prod info. Due to the fact that your prod info is console specific, there is no way to recover it without a NAND backup. The payload is a modified GPT restore with 3 multipliers, making it restore the GPT further into the NAND than it's supposed to, all the way to your prod info, which causes an unrecoverable brick unless you have a NAND backup. If you do have a NAND backup, you can use the real GPT restore and go ahead and fix your Switch by restoring the said NAND backup. Anyone else that got affected by this, your console is permanently bricked." Although this is some pretty big news, I don't think it quite warranted a PSA as it was quickly taken care of, and I believe only a few people even tried to run it. Now, it's funny that the real SXOS firmware is able to brick a Switch, or at least used to be able to, and then someone releases a faked cracked version, and really it's malware that bricks your Switch. Although it's funny, I'm terribly sorry for anybody that got affected by this. Speaking of Team Executor and their SXOS software, if you recall, their version 1.3 came out not that long ago, and it added the eShop NSP support, so this means that you could install and launch NSP files. Now, NSP files can either be a game, an update, or a DLC, so this is a very big thing and a huge step for their software. Now, it turns out Mike Heskin actually went ahead and decrypted the new version of this SXOS firmware, and the new NSP installer that was inside of it was actually a homebrew app created by the community called Tinfoil. Now, I don't want to say they exactly stole Tinfoil. They did use the source code, and I do not believe that they have given credit yet, but they did change it and upgrade it a lot so that DLC and updates work. So although Team Executor did again take some code maybe that they shouldn't, they did improve on it a ton and delivered a working product. Hate 'em or love 'em, guys, Team Executor is delivering huge in the Switch homebrew scene. And if you haven't heard their most recent announcement, The new unhackable switches that have the iPatches updated that do not accept payloads through RCM mode are apparently going to be hacked soon. Recently, it's come to our attention that there's a new revision of the Nintendo Switch in the wild which is incompatible with the SX Pro product. It appears to fix the infamous USB RCM exploit. Naturally, we had to locate one of these new Switch units to get to the bottom of this. Our Switch unit arrived to us at firmware version 5.1.0, and it seems one of the iPatch entry in Fuse set, entry number 3, has been replaced with a new patch. A whole bunch of technical jargon, yada yada yada. The USB RCM exploit doesn't work any longer. Those who are paying attention probably wonder how we know the exact details of this iPatch entry change, since we can't read out the fuses without our USB RCM exploit, right? It's a classic chicken and egg problem. I don't think it is, but okay. The answer is obvious. There is more than one cold boot boot ROM exploit, and it is not just the warm boot one. So just the warm boot one, I think, is referring to the one that Michael Sires told us to wait for, known as Deja Vu. So don't fear, we will deliver a solution for these new unhackable switches in due time. It's really good to see Team Executor sticking to their word and saying that they're going to get the SX Pro working on all switches in the future. Now again, Mike Heskin had a little bit of a rebuttal over on Twitter towards Team Executor and their supposed unhackable switches post. He says, while it's true that multiple boot ROM vulnerabilities do exist, including multiple warm boot ones, contrary to what was implied, you don't need one to dump the iPatches. Now, Mike Heskin seems a little bit weary of Team Executor's post, but he does admit that there are other entry points for the boot ROM, including multiple warm boot ones. So that means that maybe even new switches that are above 4.1.0 could still get a warm boot exploit. Now, Mike seems to think that this is just a PR stunt from Team Executor, but now is a good time to remind people that these new units being dropped in the wild are most likely a test. If we manage to bypass this RCM vulnerability patch by burning a new vulnerability, then it's a great way to tell Nintendo what to fix for Mariko. Now, Mariko is supposed to be a new revision of the Switch that no one has seen yet. Now, this isn't the version with the new iPatches that I myself happen to have one of, but it is a new version that will have an updated Tegra boot chip inside of it that will prevent Fuse from working on these switches. What Mike Heskin is saying basically that if Team Executor releases one of these vulnerabilities early and Nintendo gets wind of it, then they may end up patching these new Mariko units before they get out into the wild and no one will be able to get Homebrew. While I hope this isn't the case, I really do want to see an exploit come out so that I can hack my own Switch, but honestly, I can be patient and wait for Deja Vu. But if you told me tomorrow that I could update and use my Switch right now, knowing that Team Executor is going to release a vulnerability that works on the iPatched units no matter what the firmware is, I would be incredibly stoked and I would definitely do it. Why don't you guys go down to the comments and let me know what you think. Is Team Executor going to deliver on these iPatched units or is it a big PR stunt? Hey, while you're down there, why don't you click the like button? Really helps out the channel. And a new challenger appears in the custom firmware scene. Ray has gone ahead and released their version of Switch custom firmware known as RayNX. And it turns out it boots on all firmwares now. Over here on GBA Temp, and there is a thread on how to load NSP backup files using RayNX. So if you guys happen to want to use a custom firmware that can load backups, then you're definitely going to want to check this out. Now this is all possible because of SIG patches being implemented into the custom firmware much like SXOS. As you can see here though, XCI files are not supported yet by anything other than SXOS. So again, still Team Executor has a little bit of edge on the competition right off the bat. Up next is reports of super bans that are happening on the Nintendo Switch. Now this is regarding anyone that uses FreeShop NX or anything that can download games from Nintendo's official server, which if you've watched any of my recent 3DS videos, you know is a very bad thing and is going to get your console banned. Now, the biggest thing here is that these super bans even block system updates, so you're not even able to update the Switch's firmware. It's actually one of the most epic bans I have seen Nintendo do. And this does leave me wondering, is this the future of the Nintendo 3DS? Are we going to be seeing super bans when people try to access FreeShop in the near future? Up next, we're over here on Rebug's website, and they have a Switch Me development board. Now, this is sort of like a mod chip that you would solder in, and I believe it gives you USB support for every OS, so you can go ahead and use different things with this, such as an Arduino, CircuitPython, keyboard, mouse, even a little disk drive for storing scripts. Now, I'm not sure exactly what an end user would use this for, but if you're a developer, I guess you could go ahead and get one of these for only $7.99. Again, I don't know a lot of stuff about this, so if you guys want to go down to the comments and school me, please do it. On to the next story. About a week ago, the Nintendo Switch March software development kit got leaked online. Now, people weren't sure if this was real or not, but it did get confirmed real and is very interesting for the homebrew scene, although nothing in it could actually be used to make homebrew or games, as that would be highly illegal. The only way that you can get a software development kit is by actually signing up with Nintendo and becoming a developer. You're going to have a game already ready to go, and you're gonna have to say, yo, I want to get this going on the Switch. But apparently you can now download it off the internet. If you guys wanted to try to find it, I'm not gonna tell you where to find it though. And while on the topic, Simon MKWee just wants everyone to know that he did not leak the Switch SDK. Apparently one of the directories inside of the RAR archive was named leaked by Simon MKWee. Now, he does not have any involvement in this whatsoever, so I just wanted to put that out there. Now onto emulators on the Nintendo Switch. So it seems like PCSX has now arrived. Now this is a PlayStation emulator that is going to be working in RetroArch. And with the release of Crash Bandicoot on the Nintendo Switch, it would be really cool to see the original Crash Bandicoot running on a PlayStation 1 emulator. Up next is another PS1 emulator released around the same time. Now, honestly, this might even be the same as the last emulator, but from my understanding, this is its own homebrew program and isn't actually a core of RetroArch. Now, this emulator is called PCSX Reloaded, as that is what it is based off of. Now, this does not mean that it works properly. It works under an interpreter, not native, and sound and menus do not work. For the moment some images are displayed, it is possible to have access to the location of the memory card, some controls, and to run FPS meter, but it does not show other than frame skip. Up next, we're over on YouTube. Now, this is a 3DS home menu booting on the Nintendo Switch, but it receives a fatal error. Now, this is pretty darn cool just to see a home menu of a different system running on the Switch. Now, as you can see, this could probably in the future get touchscreen support since the Switch does have a touchscreen. Speaking of 3DS on the Nintendo Switch, here's a video of the Citra core for RetroArch going in-game on Ocarina of Time 3D. Now, clearly it's running really slowly, but it's awesome to see the screens side by side, and you can really see the potential for a 3DS emulator on the Nintendo Switch. This is epic. Up next is Mario Kart Double Dash running on a Switch with lack of TV. Now, this is basically a RetroArch GameCube core based on Dolphin. So as you can see, it's actually running pretty epic on the title screen. As you can see, there is Joy-Con support, and it honestly seems like it's running full speed. Is this being sped up or something like this? I honestly don't even know. How is it running this well? Now, if you guys thought the 3DS home menu running on the Switch was pretty cool, check this out. The Wii system menu running with touchscreen support, controlling the cursor from the Wiimotes. How ridiculous is this? It even has the Homebrew channel and Mario Kart loaded in. That's amazing. Last up is actually one of the first real mod releases I've seen for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is a Splatoon 2 meme mod. Now, a few story mode edits for both the Octo expansion and Octo Canyon, which is a work in progress. News dialogue edits, which is also a work in progress. Ica Radio and Squid Beats track renames by the Splatoon Modding Hub Discord, and an extensive MIDI conversion of the soundtrack. It seems as though you can load this mod as you would any other mod with Layered FS. Although using Layered FS in its current state can definitely increase your chances of a ban on the Switch. Unfortunately, I don't have any screenshots or anything about this, but if it interests you, I hope it interests you. Well guys, I hope I didn't pack too much into this episode, or I hope I packed enough for some of you that maybe wish it was a bit longer. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bells, and that way you guys won't miss any of the PSAs or any videos that I drop that you might need to know quickly. Again, if you liked the video, hit that like button. If you disliked it, hey, what am I gonna do, right? Much love. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.